Good evening. This is Laura. Okay, this is number 7 in the 100 Things Challenge. I'm calling this journal True Colors. This journal was a failure that I decided not to give up on. This was going to be a paper bag journal like I had made on Earth Day. And in that video, I mentioned that the next paper bag journal I made, I wanted to put the scrapbook paper on first and then sew it. Well, that was the mistake. I learned after I sewed it together that you can't do that because it will sew through all the layers of the bag and the scrapbook paper, and the scrapbook paper or the paper glued over the sewing is actually in a way what kind of reinforces the bag. So because I sewed, and as you can see right here how it is, I sewed it and I wasn't thinking, I guess, and it looked great, and then the back came off. It literally perforated it almost like you would pull a coupon out of a magazine. And once that came apart, then I started looking at the other ones, and I could tell that within a matter of just turning the book backwards and forwards, it was going to come apart. So I literally dismantled it, and there was all these pieces of paper bag with good scrapbook paper that was covering it. And in the past, I'll be honest with you, I would have gotten frustrated. I probably would have just said, forget it, and I would have thrown it in the garbage. But I said, no, it is what it is. I'm going to work with what I have. And so that's what I did. I used those pieces and I made this book, and I used these binder rings instead. So I call this one True Colors. Besides the paper in that container, I used, there was a book of scrapbook paper that I used. There was also a book that had samples of cardstock. I used that entire book. Let's see what else I used. I used 3. There was about 5 magazines. I've used probably 3 or 4 of them. So I'm down to like 1 of those magazines. So that's good. Let me show you how I did this. The back. As you can see, it's sewn, and there's an image. And one of the magazines I used was Condé Nast Traveler, and it had a beautiful article about Africa. And that's where I got some of these. So a lot of the images that are in here was from that. Also, I had a fashion magazine, Allure, that's what it was. An Allure magazine that had a whole special edition about African American models. And so with the 2, I decided that that was going to be the theme of this journal, was people of all different colors and ethnic groups. And that's why, and then this image had these words in this fashion called True Colors. So that's what I'm calling it, is True Colors. So I just tied it with these. And so this was, on the back of this was the little duct tape kit that I had. This was the words duct tape kit is on the other side, but I noticed it's a perfect little oval piece, card chipboard. So I put these Tim Holtz words on it, peace and understanding, and I made my own little embellishment. Then here's an image in one of the magazines. I really like this image of this pointer dog, and this was some of the scrapbook paper that was already on there. And as you can see, this is very thick because this is some of those to-go paper bags. Here's one piece of the dismantled paper bag, as you can see on this side. I haven't done anything with this piece yet except do some embellishment of the scrapbook paper. And this was a tag off an umbrella I just bought. Used it as like a little tab. This was that duct tape bracelet kit. I opened it up, I used it, and what I just used it is in the book for embellishments. This was an image in that magazine, and here's another one of the embellishments that I had, that I pulled out 10 items and I said I'm going to use these in the next challenges. This was that little microphone. I think it's really cute. And I glued that down, and then in that Tim Holtz book there was this word that says singing in the rain, so since it's a microphone I put that there. This was in a fashion magazine that I had. This young lady. I haven't put a lot of any of the designs or anything or writing. I took a paper out of the scrapbook, package of scrapbook that I want to use, and I made like this pocket. I folded it and punched the holes. This was from the sample of the cardstock. I made tags. And this was another piece of the paper bag journal that fell apart. And so I just put this image, and it says, "Remember the now." And on the back, as you can see, the paper bag, so the back can be journaled on. More tags that I've just used. Little, gosh, that was old vintage bias that I've had forever. There's some baker's twine that I've had. That's some little raw paper that I just used. And then here's this page. And what I did was, there was a vintage children's, like a little Sunday school book. I used some of that paper. And some of the pages mean things to me. I made connections, you could say, in what I put down. Like this one, I put this card here, hiding. What is this? Is a picture of gorilla in the wilderness. And then here's a picture in one of the books of this, and it says, "The things we can't leave without." It's a play on the things we can't live without. That was in the ad, and so I put them together. This ad says Cartier Divers Watch, $27,300. So I put these. I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition. So what can't we live without? I know what I can live without. I can live without the $30,000 watch. I can't live without nature. This was some handmade paper scraps I had that I bought years ago, and it kind of looks like grass. So I put it and I glued it down, and I made a tuck spot for the little card. And this was just a scrap of the scrapbook paper that I just rounded the corners and made a little tag. Here's another page that was in that Conde Nast of Southern Africa. I made some tags. These were from that same cardstock sample book. And then I made this card with this young lady. And I put Bella Rose because I thought she was very beautiful. And I put it says it's fight for your country. Then on this other side, this is another image from the Conde Nast. And I love the colors. And I love the juxtaposition of her modern outfit against the backdrop of the traditional African fabric. I love that. And when I glued it down, I just glued it down on three sides, and I made a big, huge pocket out of the entire page. This was in one of the magazines that I had in the stack. It was like a gaming magazine my son gets for free. This was also in the bag. This was some little Oriental cookies that I got, and I love the image. And so I made a tag. I made two tags, one out of the front and one out of the back. And this one, I just took a scrap of the paper and made like a little tab. It even has little cartoon-like things on the inside. And then, let's see. This is another scrap of the paper bags. And as they fell apart, see, this is the bottom of that. It's a Chipotle bag. But what's funny is when it fell apart, it made like this little booklet. So I'm going to add some blank pages in here, as well as on the next page. Let me show you. Oh, and so when the bag fell apart, this actually was completely open. So I just glued and I made a pocket. This side, I don't have anything yet except for the scrapbook paper. And this was the bottom of the cookies. I just stapled it on there to make a tuck spot. This again, you see how it fell apart? So I just used that, and I'm going to add paper to it and make like a little notebook. This isn't another way that it fell, so I glued this piece on, made a pocket. And then just was the other side, and I just glued this image of an actress that I thought was real pretty. Then here's another page. In my mind, it tells a story. These are like three models. They're living the luxurious life with all the jewelry and the fame. But then I have this little card with this hourglass that I found in another magazine. And I put "Stay Connected." because and the message is beauty is fleeting. More tags, lots of tags. Same thing, I glued it on 3 sides to make a big pocket on the top. This was that scrapbook pad that I wanted to use up. I still have 10 pages left of that particular scrapbook pad. But I'm getting there, and I'm using quite a bit up. But I have to admit, I'm pretty sick of that scrapbook pad right now. But I'm going to continue to use it. And so this was See a Piece, and so I glued this picture down, and it says Live in Color. So I thought with the whole theme of color, there was I skipped that one. I glued that down to make a tuck spot, and then I put some words, Come As You Are. And let's see, this was another piece that, and so what happened after it fell apart, I just took my pinking shears, and I just cut, some of them I just literally cut the edges to give it some interest. Glued that image down. I found that in another magazine, the theatrical faces, I like that. This was in that gaming magazine. I thought it was very interesting. This woman's face, and then behind her you can see, like, I think this is from India. So I glued that one on there. More magazine images and tags. This was that book cover, and I just took it off. I glued it, and I made a tag out of it. So I used it. Another page with the giraffe, and I found these words, Explore More, on a different page, but I put them together and made some tags. This was an image, and I thought she looked very exotic. That was in an Avon book. Made a tag. Some more images. This was the article about Africa, and they had these different images, and what I did was I put the African map that was all in it, and this picture of this young lady from Africa, and then I took the scrapbook and I glued just the top to where you could lift it up. And these were from that Allure magazine article, and then I put an everyday adventure. And then here is, this was the little carnival embellishments that I've had a long time, years and years. I used them. Does this page mean anything? No, not necessarily. I did put Summertime. This is Summertime in the Living is Easy. That's from the Tim Holtz. I love those. If you can buy those, I don't know. I got them as a gift from my husband. But those little Tim Holtz spirals of words that are adhesive, I just love them. I would highly recommend them. Then I made this page, and I did it differently where there's a tuck spot here and some tags. But then I lifted it. This was the ad under here. This was the product that they were trying to sell. And I just covered it with a piece of blank paper. I liked how it said Beauty Unfiltered, but I didn't want the ad. So see, where you can use whole pages out of magazines, just cover that part up that's the ad, if you don't like that. And that way, also, then you're making a journal spot. These were in that one of the Alaska books that I had gotten from the tourist section. I put those on there. Here was another page, book bag that when it fell apart, it made a pocket. More tags. Another page I made. I thought that with the rhino and forget, where and where. And then here's another page about Africa. And the words in the little children's book said forgive and forget. And then I made this like flap, like hiding. And then another pocket. This was some cardboard in that container. It was a soft drinks that my son drinks. That's lemon lime. I love the bright green color, and so I took 2 rounds. I glued them with this little piece of ribbon, and then I used some of the Tim Holtz words. It says Little Sunshine because it's lemon. I thought that was cute. Just a little, see, you can do stuff like that. Use bright colors, make your own little embellishments for your books, and that's nothing. That's just would just been thrown away. I made that, and it says Grow a Brave Heart. And then I put this image, and it says Tell Them Our Best Story. And then this is the back, and the way I did the back was, since it was in these rings, this is a whole food bag. this time I glued those edges closed, and it works just fine. This makes a pocket. And then I glued, this was the front of the Condé Nast Traveler, and I love this image of this young lady. And then this is the back, and this was the two more of those pictures. And then, so because it hangs over a little bit, see, and then you close it shut like that. But I'm not going to close it shut because I've only got the one hand right now. But anyway, so that is my True Colors book. I like it. It's interesting. And the best thing is, it was a failure, but I did not give up. And I still was able to use it and to salvage it and to make something else out of it. So when you're going to have failures. You're going to have things that in your mind you see them happening but they don't work. Don't give up. Just try it anyway. And it's just paper. It's just things like that. What do you have to lose? Just keep trying. All right. So that's number 7 in 100 Things Challenge. This is Laura, and I will see you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.